Got you. Going back to what you said about how there is some thoughts that maybe remote is more of a thing now, and you may not need that office space. I've heard like two separate schools of thoughts now, where people are saying the the office space as we know it, people coming in 9 to 5 is done. We're never going to see that again. Companies are realizing they could cut down their bottom line just by the fact that they're not going to need that office space. And then other people are saying there's people that are at home and the interaction is just absolutely, lack of interaction is absolutely killing them. So it's really hard to really believe one way or the other, I think, because we won't really know till we see it, right? Like when things go back to normal. I'm of the mind that I think there's an interaction that's needed. But I kind of wanted to get your thought from a commercial meta standpoint. Where do you think it's going to go?
Right. So first off, I think the extremes are emblematic of everything in our society right now. It's very polarized, and it's either there will never be office space again, or everybody needs to be in the office. Yeah. I think the truth lies somewhere in the middle. Do I think that more companies will work from home long term because of this? Absolutely. Yeah. Do I think this will cause real estate prices to drop? Most likely. Do I think the vacancy rates are going to go up across the country, office space? Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
I think, there's another narrative out there that companies are going to be taking more space right now because of social distancing. The thing is, the companies they're not making profit right now. Yeah. A lot of them aren't making a profit. And so they're not going to go out and take more office space.
Yeah, that's a really weird thought there. So they're thinking that literally people are going to get more space just to accommodate for the 6 feet.
Right. And I think, if you look at the different narratives that are out there, it's important to look at each person that's giving their narrative.
Yeah.
To see whether it's going to be an objective opinion. Because I think if anybody had to bet their own money on it, they would bet that vacancy would increase in office buildings over the next 12 months nationally.
Yeah. Okay. I like that thought. I'm definitely on board there. Man, that's such a weird time that we live in, where it's almost like traditionally just like looking at where the industry might be from an analytical standpoint is more like of what sounds crazy or what sounds trendy or based on what's going on right now. And I've seen that a lot recently. Aside from COVID, because you've been in commercial real estate for over a decade. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've seen a lot. So you've seen it at 2008 too. I mean, this pandemic is obviously a very specific thing, but I'm wondering if there were any other things that you've seen that were kind of like trendy in this space, where people thought, oh my God, this is going to revolutionize commercial real estate or sink commercial real estate, or where things are going to be different than we've ever seen them. And then it's just a fad, or it's something that makes no sense, had no ground, and then it just fizzled out.
I'll touch on 2 examples.
Okay.
One would be the open office concepts.
Oh, yeah.
When I first got in the business, everyone was going totally open office.
Yeah.
And they did studies on the productivity of open offices compared to more of a private office environment. And they determined that open offices were not as productive.
Yeah.
And so you're seeing a shift away. You've seen a shift away from that. A lot of companies have gone to it, and now they're going back away from it.
And it was the tech giants that started that, right?
Right. They started it, and then a lot of other firms hopped on board, and that's really about cost. I mean, you can jam a lot more people in an open space.
Right.
The other thing that we're in the middle of to see how it shakes out is co-working. Co-working is been said to revolutionize the business. There's definitely a place for it. Even with social distancing, the interesting thing is that if companies have decided to shut down their office space because they're not making a profit or it doesn't make sense, they've gone into co-working, even in the midst of
Okay.
even in the midst of social distancing. So,
Gotcha.
you know, at the end of the day, for a lot of companies, it's about how do we keep the company going?
Mm.
What's the cost?
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of are going the co-working
Gotcha.
route right now.
So you see that open concept kind of coming back to a more enclosed situation? You think that's going to die out?
We see a mix of both. You know,
Okay.
we rarely see just completely open concepts anymore.
Yeah.
Trading firms, you know,
Right.
some firms do have that preference. I've worked in it.
Mhm.
I enjoyed it, but we just don't see it.
Yeah.
We don't see it as much as we used to.
I think people like their space for sure. That the WeWork situation, WeWork specifically though, I heard they're like, I mean, I didn't look too much into it, but they didn't seem like they were going to be very profitable for very long, and or they just weren't going to work out. I think that's what I was reading. I don't want to quote that, but is that kind of true?
I haven't studied the financial aspects of WeWork that much, but you know they got a huge valuation. They've shut down a bunch of locations. I've heard
Right.
that they're doing much better
Okay.
than they were, and SoftBank has been really heavily funding that
SoftBank.
company.
Okay.
SoftBank
So
heavily
they,
funded them
so they consolidated, closed locations during COVID, or just in general?
in general.
In general.
In general,
Okay.
yeah. I'm
Well,
not an expert on it, but that's
yeah.
what I've read.
So you've seen more WeWork type situations, but you also think that's gonna. Do you think that's gonna blow up more? Or do you think that's going to come back down?
It's funny. It's a little bit counterintuitive because when you think of co-working, you think of collaboration, you think of people getting
Yeah.
together.
Yeah,
Um,
that's the term. Co-working.
even given that, I predict that co-working will continue to proliferate. I
Mhm.
think you're also going to see a lot more of the major landlords create their own co-working concept for some of their vacancies
Yeah.
as tenants. You know, if they've got an extra floor they just can't lease.
Yeah.
I could see some of the groups turning it into a co-working situation.
Okay.
Not only to get some cash flow, but also
Gotcha.
to get more tenants in the building that might move out and lease direct space.
So it's like subleasing co-working space, essentially.
Essentially, yeah. I see some landlords taking that in-house.
Got you. Oh, that's interesting. Is there this is a random thought, liability in co-working spots? Because obviously you have you have one company, one location. They're going to have insurance that covers that entire location and their personnel there. But co-working, like, is it insurance? Just a out of curiosity, is the co-working company holding the insurance, or is it going to be the individual companies, or does that make liability go up because there's different thought processes of operations that are happening there, different cultures, different individuals that are running those companies could end up in some bad scenarios? Or
I don't know. I really can't. I can't speak to the insurance aspect of it.
okay.
It's a good question though.
Yeah, all right, I'm gonna have to have an insurance guy on for that question. Yeah, well, that's really cool that you touched on those two fads, because I was. It seems like everyone likes to have their 2 cents in, especially when things haven't really come to fruition yet. So it's really going to be interesting to see how things are going to work out for COVID. For your clients specifically that you've been working like through COVID, I know you said you've been giving them a lot of value to kind of help them through this. I'm sure you also have customers that are thriving too. Is that the case?
We do.
Okay.
We do. You know, if you're thriving right now, then you know there's a lot less other groups that are thriving, and that's where the opportunity lies.
Right.